Board of Trade, and we're absolutely thrilled to be hosting this event, our business community fireside chat with Minister Ng. But we do have a full house of panel experts here with us today. So I want to first welcome all of them before we get started. Thank you very much to the Honorable Mary Ng, the Minister of Small Business, Export Promotion and International Trade, for being here and joining us. And then we also have joining us Rachel Bendayan, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Small Business, Export Promotion and International Trade. So welcome and thank you for being here. We're pleased to, from our Ottawa's own Marie-France Lalonde, who is the MP at Orleans, and Minister Mona Fortier, who is the MP at Ottawa-Vanier, and also the Minister of Middle Class Prosperity and Associate Minister of Finance. Welcome back. This is not our first event with you, so welcome back as well. And I'm very pleased to welcome as well the Executive Director of RGA, Liz Sarrazin. Thank you for being here with us today. So we have been, during the last 5 months, getting together via video with many members of our business and community leadership. And today is no exception, talking about what's important to business, to community prosperity. So the Board of Trade's mission is to advocate for community prosperity through collaboration and leadership. And we are very pleased to be working through these last 5 months in particular to support our businesses to navigate the countermeasures for COVID, to create a competitive business environment in Ottawa, and of course with our colleagues across the country, and to promote Ottawa as a great place to live, work, and invest. We're thrilled to have Minister Ng here this morning to provide a few opening remarks, and then we will open it up to a moderated Q&A. And we have a team here, but we have received many questions from our members and to our participants, which we also will start with, and we'll go from there. So to start, I would like to welcome the Honorable Mary Ng to provide a few opening remarks.
Well, thank you so very much, Suling, and I'm thrilled that you're bringing us all together. I know my colleagues are regulars, but it's wonderful for Rachel and I to take part in this today. Bonjour, everybody. And I want to thank you for your leadership and the work that the Board of Trade has done in bringing everyone together, particularly during this time where it has certainly been difficult for our business owners and for our entrepreneurs. And your work and your leadership and that of the Board of Trade in supporting owners and entrepreneurs throughout the Ottawa area has really, has been really terrific. And I'm going to start with something that I know we're all very excited about, and I know the Board of Trade is, sort of both feet in as you are. You and your members, you're getting ready for the Canada United weekend for the end of the month. And many, for those who don't know, it's a campaign that encourages Canadians to support local businesses by sharing their purchases from small businesses on social media, and it's tagging Canada United. So I know that the Board of Trade is working really hard on this. And this is really an incredible initiative that really is there to support our local entrepreneurs, our local businesses. And for every share on social media, the RDBC is going to contribute 5 cents to the Canada United Small Business Relief Fund, which is going to provide grants to small businesses across the country to help them cover the cost for personal protective equipment so that they can safely reopen and to rebuild in the months to come. So I start with this because this is about supporting local and helping our businesses in this road to recovery. And with that, I'm thrilled that I'm here with my colleagues from the National Capital Region. So Marie-France is here, of course. Minister Fortier is here. I know a couple of our other colleagues in MPs, Amos and MPs Fergus will join us very shortly. You're going to be meeting my terrific Parliamentary Secretary, Madame Bendayan, very shortly. But I want to just spend just 30 seconds, if I may. COVID-19 really has been so difficult for businesses. And our small businesses are everywhere in our communities, everywhere, on every street, in all of our communities. And I have to thank my colleagues, because I could not be doing this job as the minister responsible for small businesses without them, because their ears are to the ground. And I can't tell you, sort of over the last 5 months, the countless, the countless input and the countless emails that I get from my colleagues. And it is so welcome, because not only do we listen to businesses directly, but we listen to them through my member of parliament colleagues, and they are your ears to the ground. And, for that, thank you to the Board of Trade for what you do. And, and my colleagues, thank you for the work that you do, because as you all know, we've had to, not only did we put the measures out, but we had to pivot, and we had to pivot quickly as well, just as businesses are doing. And I couldn't do it without that ears to the ground. So I just appreciate it so very much to the community and to all of our business communities here for working with my colleagues. And from the very beginning of this pandemic, our government was very clear. We were going to listen to business owners and to entrepreneurs, and to bring those emergency supports and to make adjustments in response directly to what we were hearing. And these things, and these are things that will include right now, obviously up until now, many measures to help people weather through COVID-19, but also to help businesses continue to safely reopen. And we want to continue to be here for you, your businesses, for your employees, as you rebuild and recover. Another initiative that I'm happy to talk a little bit more about, but it's again a demonstration of how we're working with businesses and with the private sector in a way to safely reopen, and that's the Post Promise. It's an initiative that is led by the private sector. It's led by the Canada Business Council, along with many of the business organizations, whether they be Board of Trades or chambers or CFIB and so forth. But really making sure that we are ears to the ground, but also continuing this collaboration as we get into this rebuild and recovery exercise. I won't go into great detail about the range of supports, because I think we'll have an opportunity to continue to have this conversation. But really what we heard at from the very beginning are really essentially 3 buckets of support. Number one, our people are really important. Our staff are really important. And we've had to close down, or we've had to scale back significantly. So help us with this. So that's where the wage subsidy came in. We listened to Canadians. We listened to businesses. Minister Fortier was out talking to businesses across the country in her role. And we just passed legislation very recently to extend the wage subsidy to December, so that we can broaden the support to businesses to better target the support for our businesses in recovery. So helping businesses with their people. The second thing we heard was help us with paying the bills. We have bills to pay, we have fixed costs to pay, and we need some support. Businesses, over 700,000, actually over 717,000 businesses across this country have taken advantage of the small business loan in the CEBA interest-free $40,000 loan. That is helping businesses just bridge through with some of those operating expenses that they need to deal with some of the cash flow that they need. And there's a range of supports, but the CEBA has really been helping our small businesses. And then the last is really to keep costs low. So we've deferred things like GST, HST, customs duties payment, but we've also helped with commercial rent. And for the hardest hit businesses, we know how paying your rent is such a challenge. So we know also that rent is an area of provincial responsibility, but our view is it's all of our jobs to work together to help our businesses. So we work with the provinces, and we've come together so that we have a program that is helping with those small businesses that are facing, significant hardship and seeing significant decline in revenue so that they are getting that rental assistance support. Right now, about 63,000 businesses are getting access to that rent relief. So, like I said, I won't get to the many sort of, other measures. There are many others, but in large, sort of in large themes, help us with our people, help us with our costs, and help us keep our costs low. And that's what we're doing. And as the Minister for International Trade, and this is the Board of Trade, so businesses who are already doing businesses abroad, they need help to make sure that the pressures and the disruptions that we have seen on supply chains are tended to. So my department, through our Trade Commissioner Service and through our missions around the world, but here domestically as well, has been doing a lot of work to make sure that those supply chains continue to move, and that we solve those issues as they arise. Canada is a trading country. Diversification is a part of our solution to help our businesses rebuild and to grow. And I've been talking to international colleagues around the world. We cannot use COVID-19 as an excuse to stop trading or to turn inward with protectionist policies. So that's why throughout this crisis, we have been working very closely with our international partners, whether they be at the G20, the World Trade Organization, APEC, our CPTPP countries, our CETA countries, our US and Mexico, just to make sure that our supply chains remain open, our businesses can continue doing their work, essential goods and services can flow during this critical time. It's why we are getting medicines. It's why our grocery stores continue to be stocked. It's why those essential, the essential flow of trade continues to happen. And Canada leads this effort at the, around the reform of the WTO. But we have a group, it's called the Ottawa Group. It has a number of countries around the world, including the European Union. It includes countries like Japan, like Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, Mexico. And these are our international partners who, even during COVID-19, we have committed to an action plan to make sure that we keep supply chains and trade flowing, supply chains open, ensuring that we support inclusive, sustainable, and a resilient global recovery for everyone. So while on the one hand, we need to make sure the health of Canadians is top of mind, and we continue to do that. We don't want to lose any progress against the gains we made against COVID-19, but we are working to make sure that we are increasing our domestic capacity here, supporting our businesses as they recover, but at the same time, making sure that access to those markets and those global supply chains continue to move, and working with our businesses so that from coast to coast to coast, and certainly right in the capital, in the national capital region, that we are helping our businesses not only recover domestically, but get internationally. I have a few wonderful examples. You guys, I can't help it. I've got to share wonderful examples from local. But, Darlene Collin from Kempville, she's an owner of mylocalmarkets.ca. Darlene started a website a few months ago as a way of connecting local food producers with customers in the region amid COVID-19. This online business has now grown quickly. She's now already opening a warehouse in other cities to better serve the area. So we're seeing businesses pivot, and we're there to support them. Another really great example, the Big Rig Brewery in Canada. They were able to shift their production, and they're producing hand sanitizer while also taking advantage of the emergency wage subsidy to rehire their valuable employees. I have countless upon countless, just as Maddie France or Mona or Rachel will have. We have countless, as I know you do, of businesses that are just incredibly resilient. I can't tell you how proud I am to be a Canadian today and how we have all worked as Team Canada. But I also want to say the work isn't done. Far from it. There's a lot of work to do. And if we could keep focused on this work to rebuild and recover, know that your government has your back, and we're just going to keep doing this together. And I know en français, I'm going to, I think my Parliamentary Secretary is going to sort of pick it up from there so that we can also address what is so important in the National Capital Region, which is français. And I apologize. I'm getting better, but not quite there yet.
Very good. Thank you. I just want to say, and then we'll introduce Rachel, we appreciate the level of collaboration that the government has continued to demonstrate throughout this entire pandemic. And it has been the key to our success in managing this situation, and will be as we move into recovery. And I know the last time that we met through the Ontario Chamber, you said you're going to start a book of all these exciting stories that we've heard, because it's not just about businesses being resilient to get through the situation, but those who have actually turned it into an opportunity as well.
Yeah.
And it's very inspiring. So thank you. So may we turn it over, the stage over to you, Rachel, and thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you. Bonjour tout le monde. Merci, Mary. Un gros merci à toi, Souling, et également à Lise pour cette importante discussion. Et j'aimerais également remercier mes chers collègues députés de la région, Marie-France Lalonde, bien sûr la ministre Mona Fortier, et je crois que Greg Fergus et Will Amos vont se joindre à nous très prochainement. Mais permettez-moi de commencer en disant à quel point je suis fière de travailler en collaboration avec Mary pour soutenir nos petites entreprises canadiennes d'un océan à l'autre. Elles sont vraiment le cœur de nos collectivités et nous nous engageons à les aider à se remettre sur pied. Comme vous savez, peut-être les propriétaires de PME emploient plus de 8 millions de Canadiens. Ils représentent 42% des exportations du Canada et contribuent à près de 44% de notre PIB. Et que pour que le Canada soit véritablement un leader dans un monde post-COVID, il est essentiel de soutenir ces entreprises. C'est pourquoi, comme Mary l'expliquait tantôt, notre gouvernement prend des mesures audacieuses et vraiment exhaustives dans le monde pour y parvenir. Ici à Ottawa, par exemple, on a vraiment un impact significatif sur les PME locaux. Le compte d'urgence pour les entreprises canadiennes a permis aux PME à Ottawa d'accéder rapidement à une aide pour couvrir leurs dépenses courantes. La subvention salariale, par exemple, qui est de 75%, a aidé les entreprises de toute taille à garder leurs employés. Et comme Mary disait tantôt, ça fait à peine quelques jours que nous avons ouvert le portail sous le nouveau programme de subvention salariale et qui permettra à davantage d'entreprises de bénéficier de cette subvention. Il y a également l'aide d'urgence au loyer commercial du Canada qui a contribué à couvrir le loyer pour nos PME également. Alors, nous savons l'importance de l'industrie manufacturière pour l'économie ontarienne ainsi que québécoise et que de nombreux fabricants ont des dépenses opérationnelles plus importantes. Et c'est la raison pour laquelle nous avons mis en place des garanties de prêts pour les petites entreprises et des prêts pouvant aller jusqu'à 6,25 et 12,5 millions de dollars avec le EDC et la BDC. Et pour les entreprises de taille moyenne, des prêts allant jusqu'à 60 millions de dollars sont également disponibles. Ces prêts sont disponibles à votre banque locale ou même votre coopérative de crédit et vous pouvez vous adresser à eux pour en savoir quelle aide ou prêt vous conviendrait le mieux. Pour répondre aux besoins spécifiques des entreprises de l'Ontario, y compris celles des régions rurales et isolées de la province, nous avons investi près d'1 milliard de dollars dans le cadre du Fonds d'aide et de relance régionale. C'est 252 millions de dollars pour l'Ontario, 211 millions de dollars pour le Québec. Ces fonds sont disponibles par l'intermédiaire de FedDev Ontario et de Développement économique Canada ici au Québec. Pour les petites et moyennes entreprises, c'est crucial d'avoir cette aide-là. Et je crois que vous connaissez tous FedDev Ontario et DEC au Québec, mais si jamais nous pouvons vous être utiles afin de faire le lien, ça nous fera évidemment plaisir. Pour enchérir ce que Mary a dit plus tôt, nous restons absolument déterminés à travailler avec vous, avec les chefs d'entreprise, avec le secteur privé à travers le pays, à chaque étape. Nous avons adapté, comme vous avez vu, notre soutien en fonction de vos besoins et nous sommes toujours à l'écoute pour veiller à ce que davantage de Canadiens et d'entreprises canadiennes reçoivent l'aide dont ils ont besoin. Alors, merci encore une fois à vous tous de vous joindre à nous. Thank you very much, and I'll pass it back over to you.
Thank you, Rachel. So we do have a few questions, which I'll address to you, Mr. Ng, but then you can defer to any of your colleagues as well. And Marie-France and Mona, if you have something to add from the Ottawa perspective, then we're going to do this the old-fashioned way. Put up your hand.
If I may just interject, I really want to thank my colleagues, of course, Minister Ng and Rachel Bendayan for being here today. I think this is really an important conversation that we're having. And yes, you might have questions, but I also invite business leaders to kind of share with us what their reality is and what is needed on their end. We will understand better if we know what's happening on the ground. And that's been something that we've been really gathering since the beginning. And Minister Ng and I, and even my colleagues, we've been really trying to adapt those programs on the emergency response, but we'll have to look at what's happening in the future. And with our getting back with restart, safe restart, continuing to be very vigilant because this disease is still there, to see how we're going to work together. And that is something that I just want to invite, where questions are really important, we'll answer them, but we might want to have this conversation also to make sure that we understand what the reality is in a national capital region, both with le regroupement des gens d'affaires and also with you, with the Board of Trade, to make sure we gather that information. Et merci beaucoup pour tous ceux et celles qui sont en ligne. C'est vraiment un exercice qui est important. Je vous invite également à nous partager vos histoires, mais aussi comment on peut mieux répondre aux prochaines étapes dans la réalité qu'on a de cette pandémie qui est encore très présente, mais qu'il faut aussi s'assurer qu'on puisse faire rouler notre économie. Merci.
Merci, and thank you. I appreciate that. And Lise, I invite you to share as well, but we work very closely together. And in general terms, the government is one leg of this recovery, the businesses are another, and then the public in general is another. And so we have really been working with our local health officials to get the message out that we all have a responsibility to adhere to the public health recommendations to ensure that our economy stays open. That has to be the number one thing, is that our economy stays open. And then relying on the government to create an environment where they're investing in a very targeted way in the most vulnerable sectors, and that providing investments that assist businesses in staying open, and then looking at policies that we can be making changes to create this competitive business environment. So I appreciate that. And as we go through the questions, we'll probably have more to share as well. And I appreciate that. So one of the first questions that we've had come up, and this is a particularly important one around small business, because liquidity, of course, has been an important part, and the wage subsidy was key, as Minister Ng had mentioned. But the question is, will the government be making any changes to the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program to ensure landlords' participation?
Well, thank you so much for that, Suling. I mean, as I've already said, and my colleagues, the fundamental premise to the work that we have been doing is listening to businesses and to be sure that we are being responsive. Rent, as you know, is not an area of federal responsibility. So we put the program together working with our provincial colleagues so that we can ensure that businesses actually get the support that they need. It's really good to see that landlords are taking this up. It is really, it has to be a win-win, and it has to be, it needs to, we need everyone on board, because just as Canadians, as Team Canada has fought this pandemic to flatten this curve, we need everyone in as Team Canada to help support our businesses as well. So for those landlords who are listening and who have not yet signed on, I would encourage you to, because I think it's just so important to do that. That is one part of the equation. And of course, as Minister Fortier says, I mean, it is so important to actually listen to the businesses and be responsive and find ways to which we can be supportive. Rent, of course, is one component of a range of measures, but we're going to have to continue to listen as we are getting into this recovery phase. And I've said this right from the very beginning, and because it's true, like there's nothing that's off the table, because what we're trying to do is help businesses along. But on this one, we are seeing movement, and like I said, I'm making an appeal, as I have been. We made the appeal to provinces, and I'm really thrilled to see provinces respond by putting freezes on commercial rent evictions. And that's really important, because it's going to take their tools and their levers, and our commitment to continue to support businesses in this area. I don't know if from the Ottawa area, if there's sort of something more particular that colleagues want to add into.
Marie-France or Mona? Yes.
It certainly has been, so Suling, I would say, Mary, Minister, I hear what you're saying, and I think from a local perspective here in Orleans, and I saw some comments on the chat, I think there's an aspect where people feel that us as a government, you as a government, need to do more. Unfortunately, and I think you've explained it quite well, it is a provincial jurisdiction. So as we work in a collaborative way, since day one, I have to say that the Government of Canada did not want to be, this is not mine, this is theirs. But on this particular file, the law resides within the Provincial Act. And so it's been, I know, suggested many times where we need to do more as a federal government, but I was very happy to see that actually we were first off the gate to say that we're going to be helping, and that was one big thing that I heard from my local BIA and business sector. So I have to say, thank you. Thank you for trying and promoting a program that we knew and we still know may not be perfect. And certainly I've been encouraging our landlord. We've heard stories of very good success and some stories of less success, but I think the collaboration and then maybe a little bit push on our provincial government would be helpful at times. And I know that you as a government member cannot say this, but as a local MP, I would say we need to push and work in a collaborative way with the Ontario government, but also they have to understand that they have their fair share to do and their part to do.
I can share with you from our small business community, it continues to be one of the #1 relief programs that comes up, particularly as we move into the fall. Many of the businesses, had identified at the beginning of COVID, especially those most vulnerable in retail and restaurants, that their liquidity was not going to last more than 2 or 3 months. And so as we move into the fall, it continues to be an issue. And I guess just in general terms, that the uptake wasn't as high as we had hoped. So perhaps it's a question of, as Marie-France says, of influence more than anything, and messaging to encourage to look at the program again. So thank you.
And again, stress, and I would echo Marie-France and stress the fact that this program is one program that exists, but again, because of the provincial jurisdiction, I believe we have to continue that conversation with the province to see if there's something else that can be done from a provincial perspective. And talking with our parliamentary colleagues in the region, it's important to share that and not just believe that SECRA is the only place that can be used. At this time, it's what's there, but maybe there's something else in the next, like in the future, that could be done by the province to really relieve businesses. I receive calls every day in my constituency office, Marie-France also. It's a hard one, and we understand that. So I believe we need to, maybe with your leadership, share that reality we have in our region, but across, of course, the nation, we hear it also.
Mm-hmm. Right. Thank you. Well, that leads a little bit into our next question. Is the government considering further aid to businesses facing unique COVID-related situations regarding liquidity? And I'll ask that. I'll turn it over to you, Minister Ng.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Rachel's going to, sort of to respond to this one in French as well. So, you heard me say from the very beginning, this was a key component of what businesses needed and they were looking for. Those that had to shut down or scale back so significantly had to do it so quickly, and yet, you know, the bills are there, the obligations are there. So it's really terrific to see CEBA with the take up that it has taken up. So 717,000 businesses. So that's a lot of businesses. But we also have a range of lending products to deal with businesses that are not just the small businesses that are larger. This is, you know, to Minister Fortier's point earlier, we really want to hear from businesses, you know, in terms of like the range or the magnitude of what would be helpful with respect to additional liquidity. What is it that you know, I mean, you know, what is it would be, you know, what is it would make that difference? For example, I mean, now that businesses are reopening, one of the significant costs, of course, is your payroll costs, your salary costs, and for that, the wage subsidy really is taking. It's absolutely helping, because, you know, when you sort of look at your balance sheet and a significant cost, we also know that the revenue isn't coming back as quickly as, you know, as you would like in some sectors and in some businesses. So having sort of, you know, the wage subsidy deal with, you know, with a significant cost. And I know many businesses have, you know, worked through some of their liquidity. Some have not yet. So just, you know, this is a point where I would love to hear from businesses, and, you know, anything you could do to sort of give us a perspective on that would be very helpful.
Okay, fantastic. Rachel?
Je vais peut-être renchérir sur ça. C'est une question tellement importante. Permettez-moi peut-être juste de passer à travers quelques programmes que nous avons mis en place justement afin de répondre aux besoins de liquidité de nos PME. C'est quand même un large éventail de prêts. Nous avons premièrement le compte d'urgence pour les entreprises canadiennes. En anglais, c'est CERB, excuse-moi, c'est CEBA, mais en français, c'est le SUC. Et ce programme offre aux entreprises jusqu'à 40 000 $ de prêts sans intérêt. À ce jour, nous comptons à peu près 717 000 propriétaires d'entreprises qui ont été approuvés pour ce prêt, pour un total de 27,4 milliards de dollars de fonds déboursés. Et comme vous savez, sûrement 25% de ce prêt de 40 000 $ est non remboursable. Alors, c'est quand même un programme très populaire et très intéressant. Nous avons également mis sur pied le programme de crédit aux entreprises qui fournit un financement essentiel aux entreprises par l'intermédiaire des institutions financières, soutenu par des prêts et des garanties de prêts à la hauteur de 80% de la BDC et de EDC. De plus, nous avons introduit des garanties de prêts pour les petites entreprises et des prêts allant jusqu'à 6,25 millions de dollars et 12,5 millions de dollars avec EDC et BDC également. Et pour les entreprises de taille moyenne, des prêts jusqu'à 60 millions de dollars sont également disponibles. En outre, pour les plus grands employeurs, nous avons un autre crédit d'urgence. Alors, vous voyez, nous avons énormément de programmes et de fonds qui sont disponibles pour nos entrepreneurs. Et comme je l'ai mentionné plus tôt, nous avons également créé un programme spécifiquement pour soutenir les PME qui ne sont pas admissibles à nos autres programmes d'urgence. Et ça, c'est le programme de fonds d'aide et de relance régionale. Et on parle ici d'un investissement d'à peu près 1 milliard de dollars. Alors, sur ça, je vais peut-être laisser la parole à Marie-France et à la ministre Fortier pour parler de la situation à Ottawa et dans la région capitale.
Merci beaucoup.
I'm not sure. Mona, je dirais que ça a été super important. It was one of the key factors, I have to say, immediately being the real strength, CEBA, le CUEC. Je ne savais pas les acronymes en français, j'appelle toujours ça CEBA, même en français. Mais c'était certain que c'était, je pense que c'est ça qui a fait, qui était la réalité première, comme vous mentionnez, Madame la ministre, d'avoir de l'argent, une liquidité tout de suite, de payer des frais d'opération. Puis j'étais très fière, and I know we had a conversation regarding that to expand SIBA because, you know, I had this wonderful businesses here where either the 50 to 1 million originally as a threshold, as a payroll, did not meet. I had a 46,000 payroll and she was not eligible. So she was very happy when we expanded this. And I called her. And then I had another one who was $1.2 million payroll, and he needed. Le fait aussi que à Orléans, principalement, on a beaucoup d'entreprises, d'entrepreneurs qui travaillent de la maison, qui ont une différente façon de procéder, soit avec des contrats, des dividendes, des nouvelles entreprises. Et l'expansion de SIBA dans les critères de troisième phase a été, je vous dirais, pour nous ici à Orléans, vraiment, et lifeguard, a savior of an aspect. La subvention salariale, the wage subsidy, Minister, great. And I'm not here just to praise you because I had some conversation about everything else that I'm hearing, but I have to say the wage subsidy is making a big difference, and I have to say thank you. Merci au nom d'Orléans and Mona, ma collègue Mona, d'avoir pris le temps de nous écouter concernant, I would say, like a sliding scale approach, where businesses now that we are reopening here locally, phase 3, there may be an opportunity where sometimes, you know, there'll be months where they may need, may not, and before the project, the program was quite rigid in its own ways for those that, you know, the 30% and 70% by making it a little bit more complicated from accounting. But I certainly think that this is key for a business to stay afloat and to rehire their employee. Donc, merci beaucoup. I would just say that certainly we will take note of the fact that vous and you're listening, and both of you, Mona and Rachel, and certainly Minister Ng, have been great at listening and trying to find ways to support our business. Donc, je vais vous dire merci. And au nom d'Orléans, on vous remercie.
That's teamwork, Marie-France. Also, I just want to maybe add, because we haven't talked a lot about it, and that is somewhere where we find that if some programs haven't been available for some businesses, and Rachel mentioned it in French, but I'm not sure we did in English, where there's the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund. And with FedDev, there are investments there that you should be looking at. There might be some opportunity for those businesses who haven't found the right space because of criteria or whatnot, and be able to use that program to help them support their business. So I would encourage FedDev, and maybe at some point, Suling and Liz, you might want to have Mélanie Joly on board to go more in detail on how those programs can really help. And I know that they've been available and there's still some opportunity. So I would encourage that. Alors, je reviens avec l'idée qu'il y a également le Fonds d'aide et de relance régionale dont Rachel a mentionné plus tôt, qui est un autre espace où je pense que les entreprises peuvent aller voir comment on peut soutenir leurs besoins, leurs produits, leurs services dans un contexte où les autres programmes n'ont peut-être pas pu faire cet appui. Donc, j'en dirai pas plus parce que je pense qu'on a fait le tour, mais on est vraiment en train de regarder comment on peut desservir les petites et moyennes entreprises dans les prochaines étapes de réouverture, de reprise économique, mais aussi que si jamais on est dans une situation où dans la deuxième vague, on doit reprendre les mêmes moyens qu'on a pris, bien, qu'on puisse avoir ces appuis-là qui sont encore disponibles.
Merci, Mona.
Suling, can I just, since you're all on, Minister, you're on the call today, one aspect, and maybe that will be discussed, is the PPEs. You know, as you entering every single restaurants or businesses, there have been an additional cost for them, and certainly having a husband who's just reopening his own business, the price of those PPEs have quadrupled. So those are things that I think as we move forward in helping businesses from the operating costs that they are incurring because to keep people safe and their business open, those are things that I would suggest that we have as a consideration moving forward, because access to PPE, but the cost of those PPEs. A glove for 50 was $5 a box. It's $16.99, almost $20 now. So those are the costs that will result in being transferred to the consumer. Certainly we understand that, but that's could be an enjeu, an issue for some businesses as they are trying to stay afloat. So PPEs, I know I'm starting to hear that.
Very good.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, this is why we have, been collaborating particularly with business organizations, right? I mean, whether it is the Post Promise that has, that is led by, I mean, there's so many on there, but it's the, it's the chambers, it's the boards of trade, it's, the Canada Business Council, it's CFIB, it's the Retail Council, and also what is taking place now around supporting local, the Canada National. So I mean, I think in this we really have been working directly with businesses and business organizations, and I think that's what we that's what we need to do. I mean, many here, and maybe they don't know, but we've stood up and Made in Canada capacity to produce PPEs domestically to make sure that we have adequate PPE for our frontline healthcare workers and then for our people. That capacity is really terrific, and we are seeing in the last number of months we are seeing real progress, real products, and products that we can count on and so forth. So but this will be something, and thank you for that, this will be something we will need to continue to work with the business community on.
Mm-hmm. And if I might add, as we have also had the Safe Restart Agreement with provinces and territories, yes, that is a key aspect, yes, of that Safe Restart Agreement, where the province of Ontario is receiving some additional support and funds from the federal, especially for PPEs, and this should be able to support businesses. I think that we're rolling out this agreement right now, so I might be able to gather more information as we move forward to really respond to that need, because businesses will have to fit their business to receive because of the need of protecting ourselves and protecting their clients, and that is another aspect just to complement what Minister Ng mentioned that we need to focus on. Alors, c'est vraiment important de dire que dans la réouverture et dans notre entente avec les provinces et les territoires, justement, ce besoin a été identifié et financé. À mesure qu'on va avoir l'information, je pense qu'on va pouvoir vous outiller, les entreprises, à savoir où et comment ça va se passer. Donc, stay tuned.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very good point. I'm going to move on to the next question. Some businesses are noticing delays in the delivery of supplies and materials. We've touched on this a bit. Most products are coming from overseas. What is the government doing to ensure the continuity in the supply chain, and how long do we expect this disruption to last?
Well, very good question. COVID-19 has created a shock to global supply chains. We have learned, our country along with others and businesses, that an over-reliance on a single supplier puts us in a place where we need to relook at that. But my trade commissioners, what I call sort of my amazing boots on the ground around the world, are working and have been working right from the very beginning to make sure that they are working with businesses to resolve those supply chain issues and come up with sort of solutions. I have been on countless phone calls myself to colleagues around the world when issues have arisen during this time. So it's really important. This is why, if I were to take a step back, this is why the multilateral rules-based trading system is something that we must continuously work to safeguard and to make sure it functions. Before COVID-19, we were already seeing protectionist measures. We were already seeing some fragility in the global trading system, which is why Canada took the lead and created the Ottawa Group with other like-minded countries. It was that was part of the reason, and that was well before COVID-19. So during COVID-19, I don't have a number, but it certainly is many. I mean, every day, every week, I am working with international partners. On the one hand, to make sure that we commit to keeping supply chains open, and on the other, to keep moving us forward so that we are, we are agreeing to transparency when protectionist measures go up, that transparency is disclosed to, the World Trade Organization, that there is a pathway to which we can work together globally to remove some of those barriers. So this work has to continue, and this is work that we are very much doing. But, our job now in recovery is to ensure that businesses get the benefits of trade. Like, Canada is a country that is 37 million people. So we are not big, but yet we have access to markets that have like 1.5 billion customers. We have access to over 60% of the world's economy. We're the only G7 country that has a free trade agreement with every other G7 country. We have ratified CUSMA. I participated on the CPTPP Commission just last week, making sure that we can access and open up those markets for Canadian companies wanting to do business, whether it's in the Asia Pacific or in Europe. So there's a lot of strength here, but we got to help our businesses do this. Before COVID-19, and many of you will have already heard me say, only 12% of our SMEs export today, only 12. So there is infinite opportunity for us to help our businesses grow, and not only to grow domestically, but grow internationally. The Trade Accelerator Program, which is also called TAP, this is a $10 million investment that we've invested working with the World Trade Center organizations across the country, that works with chambers, that works with the boards of trade. And what does it do? It develops export readiness capacity for our SMEs so that they can so that we can help them with a plan to get into and grow into those markets. The Can Export Program is a program that we have here at the federal government that helps businesses. Traditionally, it was to help businesses get into those, international markets by attending trade shows. We've now remodified that as a part of COVID-19 because you're not able to get on a plane, but there is still activity going on. There is still work, for example, to go digital and pursue those businesses in a digital way. So we've retooled Can Export a bit so that we can adapt it to businesses who need it right now during COVID-19. There's still more work to be done, but we have to be ambitious. The one thing I would say to Canadians, we must be ambitious with our trade diversification strategy. This government has doubled down on making sure that we have good free trade agreements, but trade agreements are only agreements. We must make them work. We must make them work for women entrepreneurs. We must make them work for small and medium-sized enterprises. We must make them work for Indigenous entrepreneurs, racialized entrepreneurs. And we've got these progressive chapters in our agreements because we negotiated in there. So let's make sure that we are helping our businesses also take advantage of that. But it's two parts: helping us grow on the one hand and making sure that the rules that are there, that Canada's right there at the table, ensuring that those rules will be to the benefit of Canadians, but in doing so globally as well.
Thank you. And I will share with you, we are grateful in Ottawa to be a partner in the TAP program, and we ran our first cohort last fall. Very good feedback, and we're looking forward to running the second cohort. We did have to delay the spring one, but the second cohort. So you're right, you are putting the strategies in place, but we need businesses to move forward and getting involved in that.
Yeah, I mean, in the first 3 years of TAP across the country, like 75% of those businesses that went through TAP have entered into like new markets. 47% of those businesses have actually hired more staff, and they've seen their businesses directly increase revenue, directly coming from trade. So our commitment is to double down here, and we're going to support the businesses, but I also need businesses to work beyond the borders, because it's not as scary as you think. And I know that when you're a small business, it's like, it feels very daunting, but that's why we're here. And we need to work together, because more than anything, we need to help each other, because by your success, it means our success as a country, but really working together. And I'm thrilled that you're going to be doing another cohort. That's excellent.
Thank you. And I see Lynn has shared the link in our chat link if anybody's interested. But I think our general feedback was that it was a very comprehensive program with a mentorship piece that really did take people from zero to export ready. So that's awesome. Thank you. So the next question we have is around the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit. It's been vital, as we've mentioned here a couple of times, for many Canadians through the pandemic. While it's coming to an end, there are still many workers experiencing revenue loss due to COVID. Are there any changes coming to the program that will help those still relying on the program? And I know that we have a transition in place, if you could speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, CERB was absolutely critical. It was critical because Canadians needed to know that they could do their part in flattening the curve, and also be able to pay for groceries and to pay for those living expenses like rent and mortgage, in order to flatten the curve. So it was absolutely essential, and we can tell by the numbers, because over 8 million Canadians took CERB. And but what we were also seeing in the last couple of months, which is very encouraging, in our job numbers, people are going back to work. Companies are being supported through the wage subsidy so that they can bring people back to work, even if their volumes are low. I keep saying this to businesses: please take advantage of it. It's there because it's for you to bring people back to work. And we also know that when employers and employees are together, they have a way stronger ability to recover. And of course, we are now transitioning CERB into into EI system that considers a range of factors that are really important, because we are still in this pandemic, and our goal is to ensure that Canadians are supported, and our colleagues, in the employment Minister Qualtrough, has been very, very thoughtful, working through the program, CERB, as well as its transition to EI, working together with us to make sure that we've put that support in for businesses, so that wage subsidy can actually bring people back onto the workforce. We're seeing the progress that is being made because of these range of measures. But the reason I explain them in that way is because it's not one thing or another. We are working together. We've always done this as a government. When you hear the Prime Minister, you hear any of my colleagues talk about whole of government approach, it's because it's true. It's how we work. You can't do CERB without us talking about, the wage subsidy, and thinking about what we need to do for employers, and how we do sort of the lending support in some of the larger lending facilities, so that they can deal with things like payroll and operating costs and reinvestment costs. So we really are working kind of across the board. But with respect to CERB, we know that Canadians are hurting, and we know that this period going forward will still continue to be a challenge. It's why we've done a number of other initiatives to ensure that our most vulnerable are being supported, that homelessness is being, is that we have a game plan around that, making sure that that childcare considerations. That, by the way, is also a piece of the Safe Restart. Making sure that that childcare is support is there to help those women and families needing to get back to work. So a range of supports across the system, but with one objective in mind: helping Canadians weather through this and to get us on a road to restart, so that we can, on the one hand, keep Canadians safe and keep fighting COVID-19. That's the fight. And at the same time, making sure that our economy continues to build back, and that we're going to build back better, and that we do this with Canadians. And you don't have a better group than you do, and my colleagues there in the National Capital Region, just listening and being a part of the solution, like Minister Fortier, like Mona is. We spend a lot of time with each other, all of us, and it's because we have a challenge. We've had the crisis of our generation, and it's going to take all of us in Team Canada to get through it.
Thank you.
And Su-Ling, if I can compliment and maybe add with Minister Ng's sharing of the CERB and the transition, I think it's important to share also the fact that we're really trying to move as much as possible with like no disruption of the benefits and no increase in employment insurance premiums during these difficult times. So when we will roll out those new criterias in the transition, we really looked at, well, Minister Qualtrough and the whole team really looked at making sure that it would be a transition that would help Canadians continue to be supported. Yeah. And we also identified for those who didn't have access to EI, so that will come with more information, but you know, the gig and the contract workers, yes, we have many that needed the CERB and they need to continue to be supported. So we're going to create this new transition benefit. I can't go into details at this time because it's coming very soon, but it's just to highlight the fact that we really have taken into account those who weren't benefiting from EI before. And also, you know, with the fact that we have many caregivers that will be in a different situation. So I just wanted to highlight the fact that we're not going back to the original EI. We have looked at how we can transition and look at how we can respond. Alors, je voulais juste mentionner que la PCU, qui a été un outil indispensable pour plusieurs gens de notre région, fait en sorte qu'on va retourner à l'assurance-emploi, mais on a aussi pris en considération que plusieurs gens qui sont à contrat, qui sont travailleurs autonomes, qui n'avaient pas accès à l'assurance-emploi avant, on va créer un nouveau bénéfice pour pouvoir aider ceux et celles qui ne peuvent pas retourner nécessairement sur, j'appelle, leurs pieds aussi vite. Et plus de détails vont venir sous peu. Et aussi ceux et celles qui s'occupent des gens qui sont malades, bien là aussi, on va prendre une approche qui va répondre à ce besoin. Alors, ça devrait être dans les prochains jours, j'espère. Vous savez, ça prend du temps de développer et mettre en place la transition, mais on travaille très fort. Les fonctionnaires ont travaillé d'arrache-pied pour vraiment arriver à faire cette transition. Puis, on sait que ça arrive vers la fin août, début septembre. Alors, on est presque là.
Thank you. And thank you for mentioning that, Minister Fortier. I think that during COVID, many fault lines in our businesses and our community and government systems have been revealed that will have us on the other side actually providing, you know, better services than we even did before, for sure. We're getting close to the hour. Lise, did you have a comment as well? Yes.
I think all the measures that our government has done for Canadians is absolutely fantastic. I do have to say that many of companies have come to us saying, we have tried to rehire, but because they're making that $2,000 a month, they don't want to come back for, you know, working for the same amount of dollars. So what will probably happen is that the low minimum wage will be increased, therefore, again, increasing expenses to businesses. I think we need to also think about, you know, yes, it's great to pivot and going to internet and to getting people to export. What do we do for those businesses that have a, you know, a store on the pignon sur rue, comme on dit en anglais, and will, you know, cannot do all this transportation and delivery because it's so expensive. So I think those are the ones that are going to need our help. Also, shopping centers, you know, are going to see some stores close. We've heard of many, whether it's David's Tea, Moore's, and so forth, where, you know, we did not need to buy any business suits in the past few months. You know, where are those businesses moving forward? So I think some of those businesses need help into pivoting, but also acknowledging that Canadians are now going towards more of the internet shopping, but also bringing the consumer to the local businesses, not only to, and I dare not name them, but the international companies that are, you know, at better pricing, if you will, and not necessarily local. So I think there still needs to be adjustments in all of those different sections of our economy, so we can, you know, be careful on how we're going with in our debts and so forth.
Thank you.
Hi, folks. Sorry.
Can I just say one thing, Zach, for a second? You're absolutely right, Lise, and know that commitment, I know we focused on some of the other areas, but know that commitment is absolutely strong to Main Street Canadian businesses. They're at the heart of our community. So I just want businesses you know, like those you described that actually have that storefront to know, like we're there and we're there with you. It's also why Canada United is actually so important. That campaign is precisely to help. It's, you know, it's us working with businesses and with our local businesses to support local businesses. So so let's keep doing that, and you know, you can count on us to amplify. And I'm sorry, Zach, I know Zach is saying, cause I can hear, because you know why? My phone is ringing on the other line, and they're probably saying you're late. So
you're off. Okay. Well, Zach, I think you're going to tell us to wrap it up. Is that correct? So
yes, that's correct.
okay. So I just want to take one moment then to thank all of you, Minister Ng, Rachel Bendayan, Mona Fortier, and Marie-France Lalonde, and Lise Sarazan for being here today, for your hard work and dedication to our business community and to our community's prosperities across Canada, and to commit to you, the Board of Trade's continued support and collaboration as we move forward through this pandemic together to the other side. And we look forward to seeing all of you again soon. Thank you very much for participating today, and I hope you enjoy a nice summer's day. Thank you.
You too. Thank you so much, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Au revoir.
Au revoir.